And we are back. Another installment of Super Metal Brothers here on our podcast. I am Super Metal Brother Matt.
And I'm Dan.
All right, Dan, that's awesome. And we're here to talk to you about all things that are metal. Danny, you must be excited from the week of metal that we are about to have.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. I mean, another great, interesting, involving week of metal news.
Yeah, absolutely. And so basically, if you're first time listening to us, we're the Super Metal Brothers. We talk about metal and anything around it. So, for example, for tonight, we've got the headlines we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Justin Bieber being the new face of metal. And we're going to review the latest Aborted album, which is RETROGORE. Danny, being an Aborted fan yourself, what do you think of that?
Oh, I've been looking forward to this all week. That or like the brownies that Mum made for dessert. Either or, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, they have been unreal, all right? So let's get straight into these headlines. Start off with a returning person, can you believe it? Ozzy, he's made the news in the Super Metal Brothers podcast again, can you believe?
Oh, I can't believe it. We're quite boring people, and we really like Ozzy. And look, to be fair, if he keeps making headlines, we'll keep speaking about these headlines. He's only got a certain amount of time before he retires, so we've got to get as much in as we possibly can.
Yeah, so funny enough, he's actually been put into rehab, and a lot of people were thinking, oh, it's about time he's got rid of that drug addiction of his. But funny enough, this isn't even about drugs, Danny.
It must be about alcohol then.
It's not even alcohol. Get over a third guess.
Last week you mentioned him snorting urine, so I'm guessing to stop his urine snorting.
Funny enough, he can continue his urine addiction, but what he must be treated, according to sources, is that he has a sex addict.
Oh, is that even a real condition, like, honestly?
For him, it must be, and actually, obviously, between him and his wife and chasing hairdressers right now, between, his obsession with drugs and alcohol, having chlamydia, how is he alive, Danny?
Yeah, I think that's probably why he's gone back. It's not actually rehab. The military's actually caught him and actually doing tests on him because technically he's outdone his expiry by a long ways, I think.
Yeah, I think when the big day for him comes to knock on the pearly white gates, I'm either going to be really, really sad or I'm going to be really, really surprised. This guy, there's just no stopping him. He's like Hulk Hogan of the metal industry.
Yeah, I think like him and like Cliff Richards have a bit of a bet on who can outlive each other whilst making sure they live every day to the fullest.
Too stubborn to die. Well, Ozzy, hope you fight that and you go back to normal in no time. This is obviously the end of his career or towards it, as we covered last week. So this is going to be it for Black Sabbath, and maybe it might be it for his hairdressing days.
Oh yeah, I mean, that has to be a week by now. I'm like, us two fellas, we barely have a strand of hair between us. We're now, certain age.
Absolutely.
This guy here, he still has a full set of hair that long. Come on.
That's our problem, Danny. We needed to hit the drugs more. Was, they taught us at school not to do it, and we lost our hair. We stressed out, and look where we are right now.
Yeah, apparently
a podcast.
Apparently caffeine doesn't count. Yeah, doing a podcast in a let's call it a interesting.
Great attitude. All right, well, to our second story, Dan. This is a really, really interesting thing. The new, basically, we've got this band called Baby Metal. Now, if you don't know what Baby Metal is a combination of what J-pop meets metal. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what does J-pop sound like? Well, J-pop sounds like if your favorite Japanese schoolgirl got caught by the tentacle monster, and the sounds it should make. What's a tentacle monster? For the love of God, you need to stop asking me these questions. I'm just here as a metal brother doing my show. I really can't handle the stress. Danny, get me out of this.
Yeah, I was hoping you would cut yourself off a bit sooner before that, but I think we'll go back to the original point on Baby Metal is pretty much a mixture of schoolgirls singing with pretty decent riffs, to be fair.
It's who else likes hentai music?
No, I don't. Who?
Rob Zombie and Lamb of God.
Yeah, Rob Zombie, I understand him liking that. He's pretty twisted. But Lamb of God, why not?
Well, here's the thing. Rob Zombie came to the defense. He's been taking on trolls left and right on the Twitter. Anyone who comes up to Rob Zombie saying, how could you like him? He's slapping it right back down. And because of it, even Lamb of God have jumped to the defense of Baby Metal. Danny, what have you heard of Baby Metal? Are you familiar with it? Are you unfamiliar with it? Have you noticed the waves they're making? Have you seen a stage production? What do you know about it?
To be fair, I'm not the biggest follower or fan of Baby Metal in the sense that I don't buy their albums, but I have listened to a couple of their songs, and again, the riffs are quite good. The singing is quite a contrast. If you depends what part of the song you cut into. You just think you're listening to Play School, or if you cut to the other part, like you're listening to I don't know, the School of Hard Knocks.
It's great. You've got such a mixture of happy songs as well, almost punk inspired, and then you got stuff like Ronda or Nightmare, which is literally this dark, brooding, groovy riff. But like you said, Danny, anytime it comes back, you have these girls who just bring it up to give you that lightness about it. But the stage production they have, guys, you need to go to YouTube and see these guys live. They have everything. They have the best stages in metal right now, and probably probably deserved it, really. They've done really quite well for themselves and got them the niche market in such a heavy sound.
Yeah. And I give credit to any pretty much metal band who can make it mainstream, to the sense they actually made it on, I believe it was Stephen Colbert's show.
They did. I think it was. So congratulations to Baby Metal. We're fans. Even though we're not the biggest, we'll definitely keep it going, guys. We want to hear more, and I think they might even have an album. We might even review it. What do you reckon, Danny?
Oh yeah, why not? I mean, we got to start broadening horizons and really following these unique bands. It could be the next wave of metal. It could be like all the kids want to get into the J-pop.
All right, so if you've got any other questions or you want to get us to review a Baby Metal album, please go up to our Facebook or Twitter and hit us a line on the good old Super Mario Bros. Danny, next story, you're going to love this one. Metal Sucks is looking for a moderator. Have you wanted to get into the industry of heavy metal but didn't know how to start, Danny?
Yes, Matthew, that's why we're doing this podcast.
No, right you are. But for those who don't have a job, like us strapping young lads, balding, but strapping young lads.
Yeah, like Devin Townsend. That's really clever, man.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, metal fans will get that. Yeah, if you don't get it,
Devin Townsend?
just look up Devin Townsend, strapping young lad, you'll get that joke.
Well,
We'll wait, mate.
But basically, if you don't know what a moderator is, a moderator goes to anything that they got a thread on. So, like, they have an article, and at the bottom of it, they let their fans run loose and they give their 20 cents worth. Basically, it's like a Facebook, like, every day. But interesting is that Metal Sucks is looking for one, and they have very strict guidelines on what they want, Danny. For an industry that prides itself on talking about things like death, suicide, violence,
whatever the
greed.
The lyrics on Aborted album.
Yeah,
pretty much that.
Yeah, it's basically open up any Aborted or Cannibal Corpse album, and you get pretty familiar with. There is no subject to be untouched, and nothing that hasn't been said that could possibly offend the most stringent of bikey guys in the world. So why do you think they would need a moderator?
Yeah, that's a good question. Unless it's like a sponsorship deal that maybe the people funding them don't want that. Maybe they're just, dare I say, becoming soft, or maybe they think this is a good way to get publicity and getting people angry enough to just keep pounding their comment section, Well,
I was kind of curious, so I wanted to actually put up on their actual comment thread for this, but they've closed it. So, funny enough, that's how you solve your problem.
Oh, that's brilliant. I want that job. I don't have to do shit.
That's it. So, all you have to do, guys, is just go there, cancel the thread, and there you go. No one can say anything bad to anyone else because they got no way of doing it.
This is pretty good, actually. Yeah, I like this. This is like the climate change party for the Liberals.
I feel like we're solving more problems being on this show. I think the world needs more Super Mario Brothers ideas.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we might not progress society forward, but we'll sure make it difficult for you to get your problems out there.
Absolutely. So there you go, guys. If you want that job. Next story, though, Danny, you're going to love this. Guy gets married, right? And he sits down in this chair in front of his wife. His wife, look, I've got a surprise for you. And down comes this monitor. And on this monitor are his favorite bands, and they are wishing him a happy wedding. Danny, what do you think? Is there any bands that you have an idea that wish that they could wish you off on your special day?
When I get married, so many questions. You have to have Celine Dion, to be serious. I mean, you have to be somewhat romantic.
Absolutely.
But metal guys wish you happy marriage. I don't know if that's the way to go. But look, to be fair, going back to what his wife did to organise, it was not just one band; it was 3 bands who all wished the husband and the husband to be and the bride there a happy wedding day. It's quite amazing, and it's great, really good how they did it, where they had a split screen where you see his face and you see the bands pop up. And I don't think his eyebrows got any higher. I think even Cher was jealous on how high his eyebrows got.
Yeah, it's basically no way. And then the next thing was no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Hey, that's the guy that wished you a wedding to is my name. Hey, that's amazing.
Yeah, he saw it. That's exactly what you want. I mean, what a perfect way to have the most brutal wedding of all time. It's guaranteed to last. When you have decapitation and even decapitated themselves, they actually shred for him. They actually play some guitar for him.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Yeah.
There is nothing. There is no wedding in the history of existence that could ever match it.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic. The wife did it, but you got to give props to the bands who in their own time. Some guys were waiting at the airport.
Yeah,
and they like, we'll do it for our fan because it means a lot. It probably didn't cost them anything, but they just helped the fans out. So it was really nice.
Yeah, I would love to see. If when I get that day where the lucky guy comes up to me and puts a ring on my finger, good luck. These knuckles are terrible, by the way. But, if he can get Jeff Loomis to come down and be like, hey, this is Jeff Loomis here, and I just wanted to wish you a happy wedding, I'll be like, oh my God, it's Jeff Loomis!
Matt, I wrote the solo for you. That's awesome, Jeff.
If he came in there, that's the problem though, because if you actually got him in there, dude, he'd be whisking me away, marriage would be over, and I'd be like, yeah, far, wherever.
Yeah, you might not even want to do that. That might be a cheap wedding if you elope.
It'd be a Celine Dion day every day with Jeff Loomis. So there you go, guys. Please go and check this out. It is the greatest love story of all time. Better than Cinderella.
Oh, I think so. It's got metal in it, so anything metal makes things better.
There you are, Disney. Giving you another idea. That's 2 new ideas tonight from the Super Mario Brothers guy. We need to start painting us ideas, really, don't we?
Yeah, well, people will listen to us and they can second our motions.
All right. So we're going to talk about now a band who's been signed again, which is fantastic news. This is Dimmu Borgir. Danny, Dimmu Borgir, if you don't know who they are, symphonic metal. It's basically like having your favorite TV show kids program thrown together with a truck of immovable force, really. It's just like heavy and light and just blah, blah.
Oh, yeah. They're probably one of the pioneers of the sound, and they're very well known. They got the classic look, the course play and the spiked wrist like you do, but they're very great songs. I mean, they're great riffs. They tie well together. They're very diverse. Yeah, they have nice piano playing into it as well. They did a really poor cover of a Deep Purple song, but
atrocious.
Hey, ignore that. The rest is actually very.
It's
decent.
amazing. Like the lightest song they're probably ever going to cover. It was probably one of the things that just showed them that their safest zone is when it's brooding, and that song's got a very heavy riff too. Yeah. So for them to miss the mark is kind of like, whoa.
Yeah, for those who are playing at home, it's they covered "Perfect Strangers," not the was it the anthem of the TV show "Perfect Strangers" from Deep Purple. So
yeah, I guess the only thing I'm disappointed with Dimmu Borgir signing is that Old Man's Child. Now, this dream of having the follow up to Slaves of the World being continued, this legacy of amazing CDs, may not come as close as we hope because unfortunately, he never signed back to Century Media, which is devastating. Which, if you don't know, Golda, the lead guitarist in Old Man's Child, joined Dimmu Borgir and was doing both at the same time. Old Man's Child being superior in every way. Don't listen to what the critics say. But unfortunately, I can't see this album happening, Danny.
Oh, well, good things come to those who wait. And maybe we can start spreading rumors like Golda's not happy and he prefers Old Man's Child. We can slowly plant the seed of doubt.
Yeah, we need to lose his confidence, and then we can refound it again with a wedding.
Yeah, with the wedding. That's right. Yeah. We'll get Golda to a comeback for someone's wedding. So someone needs to get married so Golda can make a comeback.
Absolutely. And before we finish our news state, we do want to touch on a little bit of sad news. Nick Menza, the ex-drummer of Megadeth and an artist, very much been in his own bands as well, did pass away at the age of 51 on stage. Danny, a bit of rough news to head us out for the segment.
Yeah, it's very sad. He's quite young, early 50s as well, and he played a big part, especially in the Rust in Peace album. It's one of those metal albums that everybody must have, everybody must listen to. Even if you're not a metal fan, it's just a great album from that's Megadeth, if people don't know who that album is from. Yeah. But it was great. It's one of those bittersweet things. Some may say, he died what he loved doing, but some may say, well, he had much more to offer us. So times like this, all you can do is just thank that we were lucky enough to be blessed by him, and he was able to give us what he did when he was alive. So we thank him for that.
Oh, absolutely. That's like you were saying, Dan. Rust in Peace is one of those albums that is so influential. It's one of the thrash albums of all time. It's just stands on its own. And the subsequent albums after that, Cancer and Extinction and Euthanasia, are very popular. It's when you could easily say that Dave Mustaine starts to resound his voice a little bit too, so it's not as grady. Literally everything gets a lot smoother and just really shuggy into obviously developing the latest sound that they started to get right now, which incorporates more rock and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's great. And everybody's been mourning regarding this. It always comes as a shock. So we just like to have a big shout out to his family and friends and send our condolences and wish the best for them.
Well, I'm a little bit bummed out. So what about we lift it up, Danny, with something that's going to piss people off?
Yeah, sure. We really need a distraction. I don't think there's a bigger distraction than this news story.
Well, here we go, guys. Our feature presentation, and this is a very, very weird subject to talk about, and we don't even know if it's true. It doesn't seem to be making its way around the interwebs, but what it is doing is creating a polarizing opinion, Danny.
Well, it is. To be fair, you might not. It's not getting around too much, more so because Justin Bieber's fans don't really know what metal is. But to be fair, he actually put it on, I think, his Twitter page or something, that he's going to be the new face of Headbangers Ball. And he said something like, I'm going to bring the cool back to the show or something. I was like, well,
All right, so
Cool.
here we go, guys. Just so Daniel did a little bit of spoiler for you. So the article is Justin Bieber, the new face of heavy metal. That's what we did. Our article is much more better as an idea.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting.
But from heaviermetal.net, basically it's the return of Headbangers Ball. If you don't know what Headbangers Ball, it was probably the closest thing we can have to a video hits for metal, really.
Yeah, it was pretty much when the M standard for music and MTV, and
Right.
TV actually standard for TV, not this reality shit we're just on at the moment. Seriously.
But the thing is, obviously, if you don't, you are familiar with Justin Bieber. And he's going to be, when they return, he will be the face, the presenter of this new show. So he'll be doing all the cool interviews with the bands. He'll be doing like all the things about it. Now, for some people, Danny, this has been very angry because they know what Justin Bieber's like. He's the guy who spits on his fans, or the guy who rocks up late to gigs, or just a guy who's just a bit of a douchebag. That's and almost like the point where metal guys are like, this is why we're counterculture, is because we don't want to have these spoiled rich bags who rock up late to gigs. There's so many metal bands who would love the opportunity to play in front of 30,000 people.
Yeah, it becomes really annoying because I don't know how strongly he considers himself a metalhead. I mean, there's been photos of him walking around Metallica shirt, but we have tons of pop stars who do that. I mean, Demi Lovato, Miley Cyrus, and Lady Gaga, they walk around Iron Maiden shirts, and somehow they consider themselves metalheads. To be fair, Lady Gaga, that's probably true. But the other ones, it seems like it's just a trend they're going through, and they're not even like hard shirts to come past. You can go to Kmart and buy these shirts. I don't think these guys like metal. I think they're just cheap shoppers.
But that's the thing. Like, we can obviously sit here and rant, which we're doing quite well, I must admit.
Yeah,
but the flip side of that coin is that Justin Bieber, if he comes in and he does like metal and he does actually support these bands, and he's the gateway for a lot of younger audience to get involved in metal. Like, we've all had a gateway band. Like, for me, I had Metallica. That was really the start when I started getting into heavy. And then I found Opeth. Then I found Soilwork. You know what I mean? And each band got me into a progressively heavy music. So what if Justin Bieber was the way of a gateway for people to get into heavy metal music? Even though he might be the wrong guy, but it happens for the right reason. Danny, I've never been so divided on something I thought I would care so little about in my whole life.
Yeah. Oh, no, we care about metal. It's just we don't really care about Justin Bieber.
That's exactly right. But can Justin Bieber be the face of heavy metal? Like we've seen, metal is so good at being resistance to culture. It runs opposite it. But when one of the things that people have always had the biggest gripe about turns into one, and there are people inside the metal industry that don't mind Justin Bieber, but it's more about the idea of the pop industry and stuff like that, when it takes 17 writers to write the next Beyonce album, how do you connect with that? Whereas metalheads, they'll sit inside a Dundee shed, the 3 or 4 of them, and they come up with the best idea possible for their artwork. Justin Bieber might not be any exception to that rule. He might be the same guy who gets 20,000 writers and 3 guys to scratch his bum while the other 3 guys make him that famous margarita that everyone's talked about. Danny, I'm just talking in circles now.
Yeah, it's I guess it brings up a lot of things when we were younger, growing up in the 90s and starting into metal, and you talk to other people like, yeah, no, I love metal. Like, oh, really? You love metal? So what do you get into? Metallica? Oh, yeah. Let me guess. Enter Sandman? Yeah, like, all right.
Yeah.
Please continue on your way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If this guy does work as it, all right, so the older metal guys are not going to like him. Great, that's going to pump it up even more, because then the younger guys might get into it, and they might follow it, and then they might get into more metal bands, and this might actually put more money into the metal industry, which I don't have a problem with, because there are some criminally underrated bands that deserve the exposure that they really, really needed.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really good point. Is that Headbangers Ball coming onto the air will give a great avenue for bands to be heard and seen. It's just nothing. There's no real mainstream radio stations or TV shows where you actually can hear metal bands play live, and even film clips. There's no way for them to really get a film clip across apart from YouTube, and they all look like backyard jobs, because what's the point putting money into a film clip and no one can see the film clip?
So we really want to know your kind of thoughts on this. We'll post up a thread on the Facebook after this. What are your thoughts on Justin Bieber being the face of heavy metal on the MTV show Headbangers Ball? Very curious indeed, Danny. Very curious indeed.
Well, to be fair, there'd be one good point about this, and he could bring more of the ladies to the metal scene.
There you go.
Because we all know that it's pretty much a sausage fest.
Oh, well, absolutely, guys. We're going to talk about this more in the next coming weeks, but for now, we'll leave this and talk about something that we really, really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, the new Optimus Prime toy is going to be released
Oh
soon.
my god,
man.
this got a trailer, and then you put the other 3 things inside it.
It shoots missiles and lights up, and it's great.
But the only thing that's more brutal than Optimus Prime is the latest Aborted album called RETROGORE.
Yeah, RETROGORE. It's quite cool. I mean, the title actually works into their cover art quite well. If you flick through the book, I mean, a lot of their graphics are quite gross and are quite gory, hence not just because they're called RETROGORE, but if you follow a lot of their albums, they have a bit of a gore vibe or macabre vibe to their song lyrics and cover art.
Macabre, that's a good word.
Yeah, I found
Bring
it
it back, Danny. We went Super Metal Brother Dan, macabre.
Yeah, and I had that like word of the day toilet paper.
Oh my god, my toilet paper just says Kleenex on it, so that's the only word I know.
Oh, this side up, does it say?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's really good. So RETROGORE, like if you look into the cover art and the book jacket or the lyric jacket or the album jacket or the jacket or the suit jacket, you'll find that they actually use a lot of little retro symbols in there. Like there's a picture of Skeletor in it. There's a guy who has a Nintendo, like the old NES joystick crammed into his skull, which that's always a nice thing to see.
So you've heard what the album looks like, but how does it sound like? Well, Danny, I can actually show them. Check this out. That's what the CD sounds like when I punch it.
That's great. It sounds like Large York's drum kit.
Oh my god, there you go. So, but does it sound even more brutal than that? Well, as you know, if you checked in last week, we would like to review an album the Super Metal Brothers way. Now, the Super Metal Brothers way, if you don't know, is 5 things. You got the riffs, which obviously, just guitar stuff, whatever, because that's what we love.
Yes.
The vocals, which obviously could be the singing style, could be the variations, it could just be even the lyrical themes. Diversity is number 3. Do the songs change it up? Don't you love diversity? You use that one way more than you would like to admit last week, didn't you?
Yeah, Diversity's it's my middle name actually. Yeah, Mum doesn't know about it yet.
I'll give him 3 before I cattle prod him, so there you go.
Shit.
He's used one of them. Now the next one's groove. This is like the feel or the mood. So like if you get like to bang your head, or you put that grunt on your lips, or you want to go out and punch your neighbor's cat, they're all good things.
Yeah,
Don't override punch the neighbor's cat. Lastly of all day production, Danny, the overall sound, this doesn't have to be just like if everything's clean and crisp, because we talked about it producing, but it just means how the whole thing comes together. Does it come together as a beautiful cake with those candles that glisten in the sunlight, chocolate, or double layers of thick cream or jam, or is it a pile of shit?
Yeah, and it could be one of those annoying cakes where they put those candles which won't blow out on there, so you just keep blowing and blowing.
Sparklers.
Oh, mate.
Aren't candles.
No.
Okay, so just like cut it out, Mum. I'm sick of it.
My lips still hurt from that.
So let's talk about the riffs, Danny, on this album. What do you think? This is like a rifferola. This is Aborted. Aborted is like we're gonna have 3 minutes of songs, each song pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah, about that.
And they're gonna chuck in 30,000 riffs until you have a riffgasm. Is that kind of what we agree on?
Yeah, no, one of the things Aborted does quite well, apart from their drumming's fantastic, but they do some really chunky riffs. Not so many standout riffs as maybe the previous 2 albums that we've listened to, but
yes,
this one still here has some very nice moments into the songs.
Yeah, look, I must admit there are some absolute standout songs with riffs in it, and for anyone who wants to know what Aborted sound like, you need to check out Cadaverous Banquet. Now, this is
tasty.
exactly why people love metal. If this doesn't put a smile on your face, and I'm talking like the whole song, you only need to listen to the first 5 seconds, and you get the sense of what Aborted are about. This thing is, I just can't believe it's like ecstasy, but in ear form.
Yeah, that must be a track 3 thing, because the last we had Necrotic Manifesto in the last album, so maybe track 3 is the one you have to show people. Good things come in 3s.
Yeah, but that's the thing about it. With Aborted, you get this. You get fast riff, slightly slower than fast riff into blistering speed, and what you get if you put Cannibal Corpse into a NutriBullet.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, just a bit more, can I say diversity?
Oh, it's true, Danny. Don't let me get the hose again. But look, there's some absolute firecrackers include COVID and Ignorance. Those riffs in that song with a ripping guitar solo are just headbangingly good. Divine Impediment. Oh my god, this is like a tongue twister. I can't be showing up on my favorite song by one of my favorite bands. But this song has got like a diversity of everything. It's got the brooding stuff. It's actually got a stretching of not only their technical side, but how they can go very, very dark with some of their riffs, but it's also heavy. Danny, is there anything off the album that stands out? Because you said it is hard, and admittedly it is. This isn't like the Chronic Manifesto where the riffs are more standout-ish. What riffs kind of come to mind?
Yeah, there's one a couple of ones where, but see, like it has like a Dream Theater feel where they'll have like a really good riff, but they only play for like 8 bars, and then it goes away. Like, no, don't do that. Get a riff and play it.
Yeah.
Again, like track 3 has it. Track 5 is awesome.
Yeah, track Termination. Yeah, that
Redux, I believe it's pronounced Redux.
Redux. Yeah, Rifftopia. It's just so insane, and the move past so fast. And that's the thing you're going to love about Aborted or not. You know, we're not going to say this is a bad album because of those reasons. No, this is why Aborted are as big as they are. And they played in front of, about 3 people and their grandma here in Adelaide.
Yeah, it was great. I'm surprised their grandma came down from Belgium, but it was actually cool.
Dude, it's cool. She has dementia. She yells at the TV, but we tell it's a heater, but enough about our dying relatives, so it doesn't really matter.
Aww.
So, the riffs, here's the thing. Most of the time, they're on point. But when it comes to later in the album, it just feels like they're doing some of these songs in their sleep.
Yeah, I think when it hits track 8, which is called Coven of Ignorance.
Yeah.
Which is great. It's got pitch harmonics in there, which is always a blast.
Oh, that's track 8's awesome with that guitar. But then when it comes to track 9, 10, and especially 12, I really feel like the guitarist sat in front of the drummer over a nice cup of coffee, and he's like, "Hey, what's your name? Sorry, Ken." And the drummer's name's Ken, and Mendel, the guitarist.
Can I be Ken?
No.
Oh,
you never can.
Can I be Ian, the guitarist?
All right, Mendel, let's do that. All right, I'm Ken.
Yeah,
I'm the drummer. I'm Mendel. I'm the guitarist. You're the drummer. All right.
You're
the drummer.
Right?
Oh my God,
drummer.
you're making this way more harder than our fans than it needs to be.
How's that?
Okay, so I'm Mendel. Hey Ken.
Hey Mendel.
I got an idea for a song.
That is really good.
What about we go speed picking?
Oh yeah.
To groove.
Yeah.
To speed picking.
Yeah, speed picking.
To solo.
Yep.
To end.
I like that. As long as I can just go nuts on the drums for the whole 3 minutes, then we have a deal.
We have a deal. There you go. And that's kind of what it feels like for the last 3 tracks of this album. I know people are going to be a little bit sad about it, but it just feels like, not that they're bad songs, because let's be honest, this is an all-star lineup. But it does feel like towards the end of the track, they lose the imagination that songs like RETROGORE have, that songs like Cavernous Banquet have, that songs like Divine Impediment especially have.
The film clip they did for that one.
Oh.
Right.
So
it's actually weird when they released a film clip for track 7. It's like, really? Did you guys just forget you had 6 other tracks before that?
But you could see, because there was the most imagination went into a song, and it is a very good song. So they get a gold star, but not all the way coloured in to the end with rainbows on it, Danny.
Oh, man. Rainbow coloured and gold star. That leprechaun must be freaking out, man.
Yeah, you need a leprechaun, you need a unicorn for us to give you the full 5 stars. But that's okay, because there's a lot of things to redeem this album with it as well. So let's go to vocal styles. And Danny, Sven de Kilree. Sorry, cannot pronounce his last name. Too excited to talk about this track.
Yeah.
He's just the greatest, isn't he? He's one of the best death metal singers or grindcore singers of all time.
Yes. Oh, normally I'm not always the biggest grindcore fan, but this bloke here has such a unique tone that, look, if people like melodic singing, you've come to the wrong album or band.
Yes.
So I wouldn't worry about that. But if you just want to experience a person who has unique tones and sounds and can create different sounds and tones depending on the type of song, the time of the song, to match instruments, to how you need to emphasize certain words, is actually quite impressive. I call it the T-Rex growl he can put in there, and
that's right. It's like it's like he crushes cars with his voice. Like he's so big, and it's just. But you know what's also good is he can do a scream, he can do a growl, he can do those pig squeals. He has everything in his arsenal, but he attacks every single track with different ways of vocal styles. He actually does it differently and harmonizes, double takes or double or triple, quadruple Svens. And especially, I'm going to stand up for RETROGORE. Hold on, let me just hold on a second.
He's standing there, everybody. He's walking back. He's grabbed the pillar.
Pure obsession! RETROGORE, all my CD collection!
Oh, no. Oh, it's all over, people. Oh, no, he's put it down, man. Oh, no, my eye.
Sorry, when you hear the first 2 minutes of RETROGORE, the second track, you just want to grab your loved one and smush their stupid face sitting next to you because he looks at me all the time like, Super Meltdown, you just shut up! But like, enough about my...
Wait, what did you say? Wait. Is that Dan or Fred?
RETROGORE, so you're Ben.
Ken.
So look, and that's the thing. You cannot slam this album for vocal performance because it is by far a showcase of what metal screamers can do when they decide to push themselves to the limit.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, I really agree. He's great. He's the singer. He's been intense. I remember I went up to him after the
when they played in Adelaide.
When they played in Adelaide,
to our dying relatives.
Yeah, to our dying relatives. We're all dying, man. It's just a
oh
matter
my
of
god,
life.
that's heavy. Put in an aborted song. Love it.
RETROGORE, I am dying. Yeah, I remember going out to him after the gig when he was just relaxing, watching. There was another band after them. Went up to him, shook his hands, like, "How you going, man? Yeah." And he just kind of like death stared me. But
dude, I don't know if he was hungry or pissed off to the fact that he's playing in front of 3 people because he was really angry. But he brought that on stage, so you know
he always looks angry though. Even like in the book jags. I mean, he shook my hand to be fair, so he was a cool dude. But I reckon he was actually looking like, gee, how can I turn this guy into like a bit of artwork in my cover? So I started walking away when I saw that look in his eye.
But you know what? If you follow him on Facebook, you know how cool he is of a guy who plays video games. He's like the coolest. So look, vocals. Yeah. Better than a gold star. Get those unicorns on top of this star, and they can be having sex with rainbows coming out of them because
the leprechauns will be happy with pot of gold giving up that.
Now, there's going to be an interesting one to do, the diversity of the album, because diversity really means how they change it up. But obviously, when you talk about a grindcore, a death metal album, it's much harder to talk about. So let's talk about how they vary up these levels of intensity when they dial it up. Danny, did this album for you get you listening from start to finish, and it kept you interested the whole time?
Yes and no. I mean, like, the good thing about these blokes as well is that they do break up the songs with these little snippets of like films and etc. So that helps break things up. But look, you can't really do that on stage. So if they were to play this album throughout without doing those little quirky snippets, it goes. It's like a roller coaster. It starts great, 2 and 3 great, 4 and 5 are okay, and 6, 7, 8 great again, and the rest it's down. I'm not to say it's so the diversity there is not really fantastic in the sense of they try to change it with songs, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes on the last 3 songs they sound quite similar.
But what is it with this album, Danny, that you weren't too sure? But with Necrotic Manifesto, it feels like for me they kind of kept the same kind of theme going. But before that, obviously, Aborted changed that sound a lot. You know, they almost sounded like death metal at times. You know, it was almost very easy to listen to. In fact, I'd probably say to a lot of fans that would be a good gateway album, some of the mid to early stuff. But what is it about this album, RETROGORE, that separates itself from Necrotic Manifesto?
Oh, look, it's hard to say. I mean, there's...
sorry, I asked you the hard questions, Danny, on such an amazing podcast.
I don't know. Necrotic Manifesto just had more riffs, which were just outstanding. I mean, I guess we're talking about diversity here. It's just this album here. They rely a lot on just the great drumming and the nice guitar playing, but I just don't think there's much there. Yeah,
the one thing that we need to clarify is what is a money riff. And for me and Danny, a money riff is that point in the album or the point in the song where it's like, I would chuck my money at you because what you did was just write something that I can like make love to with my computer. But then more importantly, it really gives you the urgency to look forward to that riff. And this is the thing about the album. The album as a whole, right? The songs are probably better than mostly on Necrotic Manifesto. But when it gets later to the album, like you were saying, Danny, it just feels like they're running through the paces. And it might be wrong because a lot of people... This album's got a critical acclaim. We're, as Super Brothers, are ostracizing ourselves from the metal community by saying it. But it's just... lacks some of that creativity that some of the earlier tracks have. And when it gets in the other album, you really get to see how much their songwriting has changed. Unfortunately, again, it's a good album. You're gonna love it if you're a Aborted fan. But if you're familiar with their work, it might these questions might pop in your head.
Yeah, I mean, they do look. To be fair, they do show good diversity. Like when it comes to track 7, their film clip track, that was actually it was a nice breakup.
That was awesome.
A bit more of a slower, more methodic approach. And they did it well, but a lot of times they go hammer.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to feel like what was BT molested by your favorite zombie, this would be the song to do it to.
I think that's what the lyrics say as well. Actually,
they are. It's great, but we can talk about that till whenever. So let's talk about grooves. We talked about diversity, vocals, and riffs. Now, this is what the band does, and they actually incorporate on this album with some of the stuff they've done on the 4 is a different ideas of grooves, even for such a fanatical album.
Yeah, no, Groove's... Oh, look, again, they do have strong songwriting skills, and the guitarists really do have some really standout moments in that. And even the drummer's fantastic. We saw him warming up before the University LA gig. He just goes practice pad out. And
he turns the couch into a pillow. He was doing these press rolls on this thing, and this thing just shrunk. And like, it deserved it. You know, it shouldn't have been in its way of the drummer. Like, it was so amazing. How good was it?
Oh yeah, I mean, his hands are like hummingbirds, man.
Yeah.
You can't even see him. Well, it's a bit dark, but you still couldn't see him. He was great.
It was great, and that's the thing. Like, you hear it's a lot of it's fast and frenetic, and it's a lot of really cool ideas and drum lines. So really, it gets your head bopping and stuff. But because some of the imagination, some of those ideas towards the end of the album, it's a bit harder. But in saying that, though, really, when these guys are on point all together, some of these songs are like amazing. So, what do you reckon?
Yeah, no, look, Groove, yeah, it's there definitely. Could be more there. Again, this album tracks like pre-track 8 and after track 8. So
yeah, absolutely. So like the drumming on every album's great. The riffs are awesome. You know, stuff like with the breakdowns in like Covenant of Ignorance, for example, with that solo, they really break it down with some really cool, almost rocking guitars. It's a very simple line, you know. But then they obviously have the stuff like from Canaveras Banquet, where it's like a blast beat into chaos, you know. So it's all good. Like, it's all there. So it's a tick. But again, it's not quite what I thought I was going to give it. So let's put that all aside and let's give it an overall sound. So let's look at production. Danny, all these things combined together, though, can you hear it? Does it sound good? You know, is it something that you can listen to from start to finish? Is there sections there that come to... Tell me what you think.
I think overall it's still a great album. I mean, these guys, they are great musicians, and you can definitely hear it. Each musician brings something to the album, which is fantastic. Like Sven on vocals always gives his own sound, his own feel to it. Same as the drummers always. Look, the drummer doesn't just rely on the same riff over and over again or the same standard drum beat.
Yeah.
He's a great diversity, and same as the guitar. Oh, that's the third one of that D word. I can't say it again.
Dude, I think you're up to 5, man. No, where's that? I've got to give you something.
The D counter.
Too bad, like, I'm sitting right across from you from this amazing studio we're playing in.
Oh, man, like I've got that 2-inch glass of soundproof water, so you can't actually reach me, man.
Oh, you know.
We went all out on this.
Because there are 95 likes, man. I got this Rolex watch that I can't hit you with, but I wish I did. But
there's 2 L's in that Rolex.
What I need to talk about, obviously, with the production, you really know with this album, it is a good album. It's all there. And the way the production is awesome because it does give it a bit of grit where it does sound like it's from a horror movie. Like some of these, even when they use a film like these clips, obviously, they are from horror movies. But some of the songs, like, they really do sound like they need to be in a death scene of your favorite Jason or Friday the 13th. In fact, if the Jason could talk... Did Jason talk in those movies?
Oh, you know I don't watch horror movies, man. I cry.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Well, if I wasn't so scared of horror movies, I'd assume that Jason can't sing. But if he could talk, it would sound like this album. It would be like, I'm going to kill you, mashed potatoes.
RETROGORE. Mashed potatoes.
So, you know, it is like production is not an issue. Like all these things coming together. This is an album that you're going to love or be like meh to, or maybe think it's from the work of Satan. And in that case, you know, stop throwing my CDs away, Mum. Like, it's just really annoying. I just want to do a podcast. So
yeah, I understand. We're just trying our best here. You know, it's hard.
So now you made Daniel cry. Thanks.
I always cry. I was about a horror movie again. I started crying.
So, with all these 5 things to say about it, this one comes with a recommendation, but it does come with a disclaimer. Danny, is that what you kind of agree with? What's the disclaimer?
Well, for me, I don't know what your disclaimer is, Matt. Yours is about keep it above the waist.
That's
but for me, my disclaimer is, look, if you're going to get an Aborted album, you can probably start on this one here, but don't listen to their last album, Necrotic Manifesto, before this album.
Yes.
Because Necrotic Manifesto is just quality. So maybe start on this album before you listen to that one.
Well, I think that's a good point, Danny. I think if you're an Aborted fan, then I don't know why you own this album, because it's more of what you love, you know.
It's still great.
For bands getting into Aborted, though, I would suggest that you start... Actually, this is a good starting point because it's still quite catchy. But if you're not into this kind of heavy stuff, go make sure you go into their mid-catalog, because that's kind of a good gateway to the newer stuff. But if you want to hear what we're talking about with Money Riffs, go check out Necrotic Manifesto and see what we mean with some of those really iconic moments that we got lucky enough to see live. So maybe we have more of a romantic affliction to it. But in the end of the day, this album was mostly good, but it would mostly come with a bit of a warning label to that sense. But you know what? If you're a grindcore and a deathcore or what kind of core fan, like Apple core fan, do it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you gotta give props to this band as well. Like every 2 years they release an album. So if
Absolutely.
you want to listen to the back album, you have to buy at least 12 albums, which all released like in the last 2 years.
Yeah. So it comes. Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, each song goes for like a minute, so you'll hear all those songs like during your commercial breaks.
Yeah. So I guess overall, check it out. At least check out the intro to track 3, Cadaverous Banquet.
I'm so hungry.
And some other stuff as well. If you really love the heavy stuff, Covenant Ignorance. If you really love riffs, classic Aborted, Hormageddon. Great track. Great name. Great name. Or just have a laugh. Retrogore. That is. Danny, that verse is so catchy. They should play it in kindergartens and teach kids right.
Yeah, they could actually be new sirens on cop cars, man.
Yeah. Wheels in the bus go round and round. Retrograde, putrid obsession. Retrograde, maniacal possession. It's so catchy. They should put in an advert.
Oh man, I can't stop dancing to it, man. This is great.
So there you go, guys. That's our thoughts and feelings about the new album from Aborted called Retrogore. Danny, and that takes us to the end of our second, can you believe it, Super Metal Brothers podcast.
I can't believe it because my watch is starting to beep on me. But it's been another great show. I think I might be objective biased, but I think we've done a really good show.
Oh well, I think you are biased. But what's more important is that you guys had a great time with us. We've really enjoyed doing this podcast. We'll be back next week. Spoilers for next week. We're actually going to be talking about obviously the headline news, a new feature presentation, which we might leave up to you viewers. That's right, you're watching this on your SoundCloud. But the latest album from Killswitch Engage called Incarnate.
Oh, yes. Yes. Killswitch is a band which has inspired many youth, draws in good crowds here in Adelaide. And, they're just one of those classic bands where I think they're very accessible to all types of people.
Yeah, well, with the second album with the return of Jesse, this has had a lot of polarizing opinions. And, I'm sure you guys, the 95 of you out there, really want to hear what we have to say about it. So, until next week, I am Super Metal Brother Matt.
I am Dan.
And we are the Super Metal Brothers. Check you out next week. You hope you have a good one. And see you on the other brutal side.
Thanks for listening, guys. Stay easy.